Hey there, it's BoardGameDave, and today I'll be giving you my first impressions of Emerland, the third and newest game from Everdell in their Edge of the Map series. Now, a few years ago, we started with Farshore, then more recently we got Silverfrost, and now we've got Emerland, which takes place in more of like a jungle biome, which is very new for Everdell. We've got some new mechanisms, some new features. We've got a new ruins track to explore. We've got some very cute new animal critters and meeples and helpers as well, and all that good stuff. But my job at the end of the day is to let you know whether this game is worth your time and money. So we're gonna start by just a quick overview of what this game is. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm inclined to assume that you already know a decent amount about Everdell, but just in case you don't, Everdell was the 2018 groundbreaking blockbuster hit. It's a 1-to-4 player midway worker placement Euro game in which you take on the role of these critters, these denizens of this valley, seeking to build up your own city by placing out your meeples to these worker location spots, gaining resources, spending them to build either constructions or critters into your city, some of which have combo effects, endgame scoring, things that are triggered as you pass through the seasons, etc., etc. And at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins. And Everdell boasted absolutely stunning, gorgeous artwork, as well as fantastic, very lovely tactile components, and it was an instant success, and there are many, many, many expansions built off of Everdell as well. But ever since a few years ago, like I said, they kind of spun off with this whole Edge of the Map series. These are one-off, no expansions planned, standalone games like Farshore, Silverfrost, and now Emerland. Now, I'm not going to do a full rules teach. I'm sure there are some fantastic rules videos you can go watch. You can also read the rulebook as well on the Kickstarter page. I just want to briefly go over the changes in this game, and there aren't too many. In fact, they can all fit on one sheet, as is the case with these Edge of the Map games. So the big changes in this game are one, you have two different size meeples. So you have your basic animal critter that you're going to be putting out, and you also have these tiny helpers. So those are bugs essentially that come out to the action space with you, and they can either double the benefits you get from that space, or they can let you go where somebody else or where you already have gone. So if that space is blocked, you can send your little bug as a negotiator to go where you wouldn't be allowed to go otherwise. So that's what the little critters do. So that's one big change. There's also this ruins track. So you're going to be kind of racing other players along the ruins track, spending resources, discarding cards to draw tokens from a bag. And they can give you points, they can give you immediate benefits, all sorts of random things. And the more cards you discard, the more you get to look at, but you only get to choose one. And if you make it all the way to the end of the track across the various seasons, there's some lucrative points there at the end. Another new concept, brand new in Everdell, I love this so much, are the upgradable cards. So every single card in this game, there's 100 of these cards, is double-sided, right? Constructions and critters alike. So the base side has their ability, and then if you do an upgrade action by either going to that space or through other cards that give you that ability, you can flip it to the back side, which makes them worth one more point, but also makes their ability, their power, their ongoing effect, their endgame scoring, whatever it is, it makes it that much better. And that is just extremely, extremely satisfying. And one other big change is that there's, instead of the forest locations in Everdell, there are these river market dice. So whoever passes into the next season first is going to roll those dice, and that'll change what's available down here at the river each round. So you sort of have a random, set of resources. In addition to the regular locations, you have these down here as well. And your tiny critters can also go there solo over here to take some of those resources as well. So those are the biggest changes you'll notice immediately when you take a closer look at Emerland. And of course, there's other smaller changes as well, but hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect in general from this game and what they've changed from Everdell. Now we can very briefly go through my 7-point criteria for how I review games, starting with the art and components. And what can I say? It's Everdell. The components are great. The art is beautiful. For each of these Edge of the Map games, they've had a new artist do all the artwork. They've got Mr. Cuddington working on Emerland, and it's beautiful. Mr. Cuddington, known for games like Brass Birmingham, Radlands, Santorina, etc., 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 many other games as well. But the artwork is just so gorgeous. I'll show you some of the cards. It's vibrant, it's fun, it's whimsical. It has an almost sort of children's book sort of feel, but the art is just lush and very jungular and, like I said, vibrant and just so verdant and lush, and I love it very much. The components are stunning. Beautiful marble. I love that so much. You've got squishy figs like the berries in Everdell. You've got these rubbery leaves. You've got bamboo. You've got harps. You've got these gorgeous emeralds. You've got nice resin point tokens. The bag that the artifact tokens go inside is great. And I even love the ruins 3D terrain thing. Now, I know this is very contentious. Some people do like the tree and the lighthouse and stuff. Some people don't. You don't have to use it. Of course, there's a 2D board you can use. But honestly, I really like the little jungle cave thing that you travel through and down and into the cave. And I think that's fun. I think it's great. Art and components, I got to give it a 10 out of 10. It really doesn't get any better than this. Second is complexity versus audience. Now, I always say with these Everdell spin-off games, presumably the audience knows what they're expecting from an Everdell title like this, so it's almost always going to be a very good match between the two. I'd almost give it a 10 out of 10, except I don't know, with the artwork or the art style or maybe the theme or something about it to me feels more like it's geared toward kids, like it might be a slightly lighter Everdell. And if anything, it's more complex than Everdell. You've got the helpers, you've got the double-sided cards, you've got 2 new actions you can do on your turn. So I'm wondering if there's a slight mismatch there. It says, again, ages 10 and up, although like I said with Silverfrost, I would say err on the side of 14 and up for this game. So overall, it's a very good match. I give it a 9.5 out of 10 for complexity versus audience. Third is thematic integration. And while I can't say that Emerland is the most robust, deeply enmeshed thematic game out there, it is very thematic. I love that you are, in this jungle and you're trying to build your little city or whatever by sending out helpers to gather resources and things to build constructions, and then using your harp to make beautiful music to attract critters to move into the city. It all just tells this really compelling and fun narrative that I really enjoy. Not to mention that the cards themselves correspond to what they're doing. So the chef is giving you figs and points. And if you build a gem workshop, you're going to be making gems. And if you build the river market, I believe, you're going to be interacting with those river market dice, and the maestro is looking for harps and all that stuff. It's fun, and even the artwork on the cards kind of helps to tell this story, this narrative of what's going on in your city, and I find it very thematic and very satisfying as well. Even the ruins track is kind of fun, sort of telling this, again, not heavily developed, but a fun, light story about you going deeper and deeper into this ruins and getting artifacts. So fairly thematic. I give it a 9 out of 10 for thematic integration. Fourth is intuitive mechanics, and I have to say this game is going to feel very, very familiar and mostly fairly intuitive, especially if you've played any of the Everdell games. The actions just make sense. The whole pacing flows very nicely. It's all very done with the iconography. There are 2 very small things that might trip you up the first few plays. One is your helpers as negotiators, as guides. Where can they go by themselves? Where can I bring along a helper? Where can I not? Some of that stuff I feel like could have been marked a little bit more clearly on the board, but you get the hang of it immediately. And then the other thing is what exactly happens or triggers when you upgrade each of the 6 different kinds of cards, because they each kind of do something different when they flip, and that can take a little bit of getting used to as well. Luckily, it does come with player aids for everybody, so it's easily referenced on your player aid. I give it an 8.5 out of 10 for intuitive mechanics. Fifth is replayability, and while there's not a lot of setup variability necessarily in this game, the fact that there's 100 cards you can play with new mechanisms, new actions, new things to explore, new strategies to try out, the ruins track to go toward, there's the whole upgrading element. There's so much new stuff that it keeps you coming back, not to mention you've got the river dice that's going to change the resources available each round. You only flip 3 of those realm cards face up each game, so there's new ones to explore every time you play. There's a big bag of artifacts to choose from, and you never know what you're going to get from there. There is a lot to explore, and I see this being much more replayable than Farshore or Silverfrost. They did a great job with just the amount of potential inside this box. You start pulling things out, you're like, I cannot wait to explore what's inside here. maybe just because it feels so new and novel with some of those twists that they did. I find this much more replayable, like I said. I give it a 9 out of 10. Sixth is length and fun factor. Now, this game does take a little bit longer to play than Farshore at about 90 minutes for 2 players and an hour for solo, which is pretty much the same as Everdell and Silverfrost for Hannah and I. I will say that this has the potential to get bogged down with analysis paralysis because you might get to thinking, and you're probably right, that there's got to be some way to finesse your upgrades and critters and helpers and do some sort of jerry-rigging to get what you need to play that really valuable 9-point prosperity card or something like that. So it can get really brainy when you're thinking about that, especially toward the end of the game. But most turns are quick and light and they're over like this. You go somewhere, you get some resources. It's very, very quick. And the game is always engaging. It doesn't feel terribly long. Not to mention, you also have this whole ruins track, which is this race element. So you don't want to hang out in one season too long. You want to pass into the next season to get first dibs on that next space. And it keeps the game moving. And as always with Everdell, hopefully you're building this engine so you're getting sort of a rising action, building toward a climax as you hit that last season. You're getting all these meeples. You're getting so much done. And it just is engaging all the way throughout. It never felt like it was too long for what it is. It almost feels like a great length with maybe just being a tad long sometimes. So I give it a 9 out of 10 for length and fun factor. And finally, cost versus value. Now, this is really hard to judge right now because the Kickstarter is not live until tomorrow morning. So I'm going off the prices I saw for the Silverfrost Kickstarter and what they're selling these games for on their website. So Farshore and Silverfrost both are MSRP $100 on their website for the collector's edition and $50 for the essential edition, which is stripped down components, kind of, bare bones style. So I've talked about those in the past. The Silverfrost Kickstarter, however, was $69 with $12 shipping and then tax, took it to about $86. So if you're seeing about the same price, that's not bad for the Emerland Kickstarter edition or the collector's edition. Well, Kickstarter edition, I don't know if it has promos and stuff. Again, I don't know for sure, but I would say that this game at that $86-ish price point, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a bargain, it's not a deal, but that's not a bad price for a really stunning, gorgeous, unbelievable artwork and components and table presence game that's also really fun and compelling and very replayable. So 7.5 out of 10 if you're getting it at that 86-ish price range, including shipping and tax. Now, I don't know with shipping if it's going to be super expensive this time around and components and stuff. I don't know if it's $100 now, we're getting away toward maybe like a 6.5, 6, but I'm not going to factor that in because I don't know what the price will be. So anyway, take that whole thing with a grain of salt, but I would say, again, $85, $86 would be a reasonable price for this game where you're not overspending or underspending, I suppose. And that gives us a final average score of 8.93 out of 10 for Emerland, and I'm going to go ahead and just round it up to a 9 because I really, really enjoyed this game. Hannah and I just had so much fun exploring and enjoying and embracing kind of the new changes that they added to this game. And it just felt very refreshing to see them taking risks, adding new mechanisms, double-sided cards, a ruins track, a bag full of artifacts, having dice in there, having 2 sizes of meeples, right? It just was nice to see something new for a change. And if you've been watching the channel and you know I do a lot of Everdell coverage, I've said in the past, you do not need Farshore if you have Everdell. You don't need Silverfrost if you have Everdell. I liked Farshore because it was quick. That was the biggest thing about Farshore that bumped it up a little bit in my mind. Silverfrost was more of the same, although there was the snow and the fire tokens, and that was fun. But really, as has been said a lot in the board game community, these felt fine, but they're just, Everdell with slight changes, right? And again, I hope I've been very, very transparent about that all along the way. They're great games, but in the shadow of Everdell, it's like, okay, they're not that different. If you don't have Everdell, do your thing, get Farshore, get Silverfrost, whatever. This is the first time that I've played an Edge of the Map game and thought, oh man, I I could see getting this even if I had Everdell. Like if I didn't get this for free, by the way, thank you always to Tabletop Tycoon for your generosity. This is the first one that I would consider getting and adding to my collection alongside Everdell because of those new changes, because I would be so excited to bring this to a game night with friends who have played Everdell and say, you need to play Emerland. There is so much fun stuff going on in here that's new and novel and really interesting. Whereas Farshore and Silverfrost is more like, hey, check out this twist on Everdell. This is cool. I like this. And again, Hannah, who's maybe even more critical than I am about these games, really, again, found this very enjoyable and fun and refreshing. So it's worth checking out. Do you need Emerland if you have Everdell? No. Are they 88% the same? Yes. But that 12%, it's fun. It's really cool. So this is already going longer than I wanted it to, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off in a second. Kickstarter is obviously live, so I appreciate you taking a chance on my video. On BoardGameDave, I do reviews like this all the time. Actually, not that often because I had a baby recently, but I do review games when I can. I try to be as honest and transparent about my reviews and things. So if you liked what you saw, please feel free to subscribe and check out some other videos. You can also leave a comment down below. I respond to every comment on this channel. You can comment about how cute Coconut the Capybara is. This is a squishy that's available ostensibly as an add-on in the Kickstarter pledge. It is so fun and squishy, and my baby loves this thing, so give it a go. It's just the best thing ever, and they sent it to me without me asking at all for it, so thank you again to Tabletop Tycoon. If you can't get enough of my Everdell content, you can watch my Silverfrost review that I feel like I just uploaded here. You can watch my Farshore review here. I've got so many more Everdell things you can check out in the link description down below. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Take care. Happy gaming. Don't forget to check out the Kickstarter campaign, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.